Nobody knew the young pilot was once the most feared name in combat aviation. Not until turbulence hit at 37,000 feet and everything went wrong. The captain lay dying in his seat, and with his final breath, he whispered the words that changed everything: "Ghost Rider, save them." Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. The alarm clock buzzed at 4:30 a.m. Sarah Chen rolled over and silenced it with a practiced hand. Another early morning, another flight. She had been flying commercial routes for exactly 1 year now, and the routine had become second nature. Nobody knew her secret. Nobody knew that before she wore this commercial airline uniform, she had flown fighter jets through enemy airspace on classified missions. Nobody knew that she once had a call sign that made experienced pilots go quiet with respect. Ghost Rider. But that life was behind her now. Or so she thought. Sarah walked through the employee entrance of Horizon Regional Airlines at 5:45 a.m. She carried her flight bag over one shoulder and a travel mug of coffee in her other hand. "Morning, Sarah," called Tom from the maintenance hangar. "Morning, Tom. How's everything looking today?" "All good. Your bird is ready to go. Denver flight, right?" Inside the briefing room, Captain David Morrison was already studying weather charts. He was 58 years old with gray hair and deep lines around his eyes from decades of flying. "Chen. Good, you're here. Take a look at this weather system over the Rockies. Red and orange cells clustered over the mountain range. Looks rough. I'll handle the flying through the bad weather. You just keep an eye on the radar." "Yes, Captain." Sarah had heard this same speech from every captain since joining Horizon. They all treated her like she was fresh out of flight school. None of them knew that before she ever sat in a commercial cockpit, she had logged over 2,800 combat hours in F-22 Raptor fighter jets. None of them knew about the 68 classified missions or the legendary call sign she had earned. By 6:45 a.m., passengers were boarding Flight 2847 to Denver. Sarah stood at the cockpit door, greeting people as they filed past. A businessman in an expensive suit stopped nearby, speaking loud enough for her to hear. "Can you believe they let girls this young fly commercial planes now? Probably diversity hiring." An elderly woman stopped at the cockpit door. "Excuse me, dear. How long have you been flying? You look so young." "Long enough to get you safely to Denver, ma'am," Sarah replied politely. "The real pilot is the man up front," the woman's husband said, pulling her along. Sarah slid into the right seat and began her pre-flight checks. Her hands moved across the controls with absolute precision. To anyone watching, she just looked like a competent junior pilot. They could not see the thousands of combat hours. They could not see Ghost Rider. Flight 2847 pushed back at 7:30 sharp. They lifted off smoothly and climbed into clear sky above the clouds. For the first hour and 20 minutes, the flight was perfectly routine. They reached cruising altitude of 37,000 feet. Sarah monitored instruments while Morrison occasionally checked the weather radar. "We'll start feeling bumps in about 10 minutes, Morrison announced. "Better give the cabin a heads up." Sarah pressed the intercom. "Flight attendants, please prepare the cabin for turbulence. We expect some rough air ahead." The first jolt came at exactly 8:52 a.m. A sharp bang rattled the aircraft. Morrison made altitude adjustments, seeking smoother air. "Here we go, Chen. Watch that radar closely." Sarah studied the display with focused attention. The patterns troubled her. The turbulence was not behaving normally. "Captain, I'm seeing concerning patterns. These readings suggest." Another jolt interrupted her, much harder. The aircraft dropped suddenly. Passengers screamed. "Denver Center, Horizon 2847 requesting immediate altitude change, severe turbulence. Horizon 2847, stand by." We have traffic. Maintain current altitude. Then the world exploded into chaos. The aircraft pitched violently left, rolling at an extreme angle. Passengers screamed in terror. Overhead bins burst open, raining luggage throughout the cabin. Warning alarms blared in the cockpit. Full power. Morrison shouted. Help me level this out. Sarah's hands moved to the controls carefully, the way a commercial first officer should. Even though her combat instincts screamed at her to take over completely, she held back. She could not reveal what she really was. The aircraft began to level slightly, but the turbulence intensified. The radar showed a rotating column of severe wind shear at high altitude, a sideways tornado at 37,000 feet. Denver Center, Horizon 2847, declaring emergency. We need immediate clearance to descend. Horizon 2847, cleared to descend immediately to flight level 250. Turn right to heading 270. Another massive jolt hit them. Something cracked in the fuselage. The aircraft rolled hard right. Hydraulics. Sarah called out. We've lost System B pressure completely. System A is fluctuating. Morrison was breathing hard, his face flushed. Chen, help me get this nose down. We need out of this altitude. They forced the damaged aircraft into a descent. But the turbulence followed them. At 32,000 feet, the aircraft suddenly pitched upward violently. Then they dropped. The altimeter unwound rapidly, showing a descent rate that would kill everyone aboard in less than 60 seconds. Pull up. Pull up. Morrison screamed. They hauled back on the controls, but the response was sluggish. They were actually falling from the sky. Another violent jolt struck. Captain Morrison cried out in pain, thrown forward against the control column. Blood streamed down his face from a deep gash. Captain! Sarah shouted. Morrison was slumped forward, barely conscious. Blood dripped onto his uniform. His hands remained on the controls but were weak and shaking. Captain Morrison. Sarah grabbed his shoulder. His eyes fluttered open, glazed with pain. He tried to speak but coughed, and blood appeared from his mouth. Internal injuries. I can't. Morrison whispered. Chen, you have to. I've got the aircraft, Captain. Morrison coughed again, more blood appearing. But his eyes suddenly focused on Sarah's face with perfect clarity. Recognition, understanding. Ghost Rider, he whispered. Sarah froze. That name. That call sign. Captain, what did you? Ghost Rider, Morrison said stronger now, his eyes locked on hers. I know who you are. I flew transport missions for your squadron 4 years ago. Heard the stories, the pilot who could fly anything through anything, the one who always brought everyone home. Sarah felt something crack inside her chest. He knew. Save them, Morrison breathed, blood trickling from his mouth. Save them. Ghost Rider. Then his eyes rolled back and he slumped forward, unconscious. He was dying right there in the left seat. And Sarah was alone at the controls with 183 souls depending on her. For one more second, Sarah Chen hesitated. Then Ghost Rider took the controls. Her hands moved with blinding speed across the instrument panel. No longer careful movements, but lightning-fast actions of a combat aviator. She shut down damaged systems and rerouted others, creating a new hydraulic configuration that bypassed failed components in less than 8 seconds. Flight attendants, this is the first officer, she said calmly into the intercom. Captain Morrison is incapacitated. I have the aircraft. Secure all passengers immediately. We will be performing unconventional maneuvers. Trust me and follow my instructions exactly. In the back, lead flight attendant Maria Rodriguez heard that voice and felt reality shift. That was not the uncertain young pilot she knew. That was absolute authority. You heard her. Maria shouted. Secure everyone now. Sarah banked hard left, not fighting the turbulence but using it, reading the invisible air currents. Her hands flew across controls, making micro-adjustments every fraction of a second. She dropped the nose and dove, accelerating the descent in a way that made passengers scream, but took them out of the rotating wind shear. She knew exactly how much stress the airframe could handle and flew right up to those limits. The turbulence began easing at 28,000 feet. Sarah leveled off at 25,000 feet. For the first time in 6 minutes, the aircraft flew relatively smoothly. Denver Center, Horizon 2847 Heavy, declaring emergency. Catastrophic turbulence, structural damage, pilot incapacitated. Multiple system failures, request immediate vectors to nearest suitable airport. Horizon 2847, nearest suitable airport is Colorado Springs, 65 miles southeast. Turn right heading 140. Descend and maintain 15,000. Emergency services notified. Sarah turned the damaged aircraft toward Colorado Springs. With Morrison unconscious beside her, damaged hydraulics, and terrified passengers behind her, she flew with confidence and precision that seemed impossible. But she had done this before. She had brought home aircraft with worse battle damage. This Boeing 737, damaged as it was manageable. The approach to Colorado Springs required every bit of Sarah's skill. With compromised hydraulics, she used manual trim controls and differential thrust to keep the aircraft balanced. She flew a visual approach, her hands constantly moving. When the wheels touched down, the landing was so smooth that several passengers didn't realize they were on the ground until they felt the brakes. Sarah brought the aircraft to a stop where emergency vehicles waited. Horizon 2847, aircraft is stopped and secured. We need immediate medical attention for the captain and passengers. Sarah shut down the engines and sat back, finally breathing. Her hands were shaking. Beside her, Morrison was still breathing but unconscious. Through the windscreen, paramedics rushed toward them. The cockpit door burst open. Maria stood there, eyes wide with shock and awe. Sarah, what just happened? You just flew a damaged plane through turbulence that should have killed us all. You landed like it was routine. I've been flying for 7 years and never seen anything like that. Who are you? Sarah reached into her flight bag and pulled out a photograph, her in a military flight suit standing in front of an F-22 Raptor. Stenciled on the aircraft, LT Chin, Ghost Rider. Maria took the photograph with trembling hands. Oh my God. You're military. You're not just some junior pilot. I was, Sarah said quietly. Past tense. I left that life behind. I wanted normal flying. But Captain Morrison recognized who I was, and he used his last conscious breath to call on Ghost Rider to save everyone. Ghost Rider, Maria whispered. What does that mean? It means I flew stealth missions in places our government doesn't acknowledge. It means I completed impossible operations. It means I have skills most commercial pilots don't know exist. Sarah took the photo back. And it means today I broke my promise to never be that person again. Paramedics flooded the cockpit, stabilizing Morrison for transport. Sarah followed them into the passenger cabin. When she emerged, passengers stared at her. This was the same young woman they had dismissed hours ago. Now she had saved all their lives. The businessman stood from his seat, pale and shaking. You saved us. I don't understand how you. I'm so sorry. I said terrible things about you. Sarah gave him a small nod. You had no reason to know. But who are you? Another passenger asked. The flight attendants are saying something about Ghost Rider. Before Sarah could answer, Maria stepped forward. It means we had someone extraordinary flying this aircraft today. Someone with skills far beyond commercial aviation, someone who gave up a legendary military career to fly normal routes, but still had the training and courage to save us all. The cabin erupted in applause. Passengers stood, clapping and crying, reaching out to touch Sarah as she walked past. 2 hours later, Sarah sat alone in a quiet office. She had been medically cleared and told that Morrison was in surgery but expected to survive. There was a knock at the door. A distinguished man in an expensive suit entered. "First Officer Chen, I'm James Parker, Vice President of Flight Operations for Horizon Airlines." Sarah stood and shook his hand. Parker sat across from her with a tablet. "I've been reviewing the cockpit voice recorder data. I need you to explain how you performed maneuvers our engineers say weren't possible. And I need you to explain why Captain Morrison's last conscious words were, 'Ghost Rider.'" Sarah met his gaze. "Sir, before I joined Horizon, I served 12 years in the United States Air Force. I flew F-22 Raptors on classified stealth operations. I logged over 2,800 combat hours and completed 68 classified missions. I earned a call sign that became legendary in military aviation. That call sign was Ghost Rider. I left the military 18 months ago because I wanted different flying. I applied to Horizon under my legitimate civilian credentials. I just didn't include the classified parts." Parker was quiet for a long moment. "First Officer Chen, after today, your secret is no longer secret. Every airline in the country is going to know about Ghost Rider. You can't hide anymore. The question is, what do we do about it? If you need my resignation." "Resignation?" Parker actually laughed. "No. I'm here to offer you immediate upgrade to captain, assignment to flagship routes, and compensation reflecting your actual capabilities. Captain Morrison is expected to make full recovery. He revealed your secret with his dying breath, giving you permission to be who you really are. I'm just formalizing that permission." Sarah felt something loosen in her chest. "I never wanted anyone to know. Sarah, people like you don't get to be normal. You're too skilled, too capable, too extraordinary. Today you saved 184 lives using abilities maybe a dozen pilots in the world possess. That's not something you hide. That's something you honor by continuing to use those skills to keep people safe." He stood and extended his hand. "Welcome to the captain's seat, Ghost Rider." That evening, Sarah visited Morrison in the hospital. Despite bandages and monitors, he managed a weak smile when she entered. "Chen. Or should I say Ghost Rider?" Sarah sat beside his bed. "How are you feeling, Captain?" "Like I got thrown into a control panel at 400 miles per hour, but alive, because of you." His eyes grew serious. "I'm sorry I revealed your secret without permission. But we were dying up there, and I knew you were the only one who could save us. You don't need to apologize, Captain. You were right." "How did I know?" Morrison shifted slightly. "About 8 months ago, I flew a military charter. Got talking with a colonel named Marcus Webb. He told stories about a legendary aviator with the call sign Ghost Rider. Said she was the best combat pilot he'd ever seen. He showed me a photo from an award ceremony. I recognized you immediately." Sarah felt her breath catch. Colonel Webb had been her squadron commander. "I didn't say anything because I figured you had your reasons for hiding," Morrison continued. "But I kept it in mind. Just in case." He took her hand. "Listen, Sarah. Those skills you have aren't just for combat. They're for keeping people safe anywhere. You saved 184 lives today. That's not something to hide. That's something to honor." Before Sarah could respond, there was a knock. Colonel Webb in Air Force dress uniform stepped into the room. "Colonel Webb," Sarah said, standing. Webb smiled. "At ease, Lieutenant. Or First Officer Chen now." He turned to Morrison. "Captain, when I heard what happened, I had to come see if the rumors were true." "The rumors are true, Colonel," Morrison said. Ghost Rider saved us all. Webb looked at Sarah. The Air Force has been following your career since you left. When news of today's incident hit, commercial pilot saves aircraft using advanced combat techniques, people at the Pentagon started asking questions. Questions that led back to you. Sarah, what you did today is going to make waves. The NTSB will investigate. Aviation authorities will want to understand how you accomplished this. And the media will dig into your background. Within 48 hours, the Ghost Rider story will be everywhere. I wanted to give you a heads up. What do you recommend, sir? Be honest. Tell your story. Not the classified parts, but the broad strokes. You served with distinction. You earned one of the most legendary call signs in modern aviation. You left honorably and pursued civilian flying. Today you used your training to save lives. That's not a story to hide from. That's a story to be proud of. Morrison nodded. The colonel's right. You're going to be in the spotlight whether you want it or not. Better to control the narrative. Sarah looked between the two men. Both seeing her clearly for who she really was. No more hiding. Okay, she said finally. I'll tell the story. On my terms. I'm not looking for fame. I just want people to understand that what happened was about training and preparation meeting opportunity. Sarah stood on the tarmac at a small Montana airport, watching the sunset. Her phone rang, an unknown number. Captain Chen speaking. Captain Chen, this is Colonel Webb. The Air Force is developing a new training program for transitioning combat pilots into commercial aviation. We'd like you to help design and teach that program. Sarah felt a surge of interest. Tell me more. Part-time consulting position. You'd keep your job with Horizon, but spend maybe 1 week per quarter at Air Force bases, teaching transitioning pilots about commercial aviation. You'd help us design curriculum that bridges that gap. That sounds incredible, sir. I'd be honored. Excellent. Sarah, what you've built over the past 3 months, the way you've honored both your military service and civilian career, it's exactly what we want to help other pilots achieve. You're proof that legends don't have to hide and that service takes many forms. After hanging up, Sarah stood watching the sunset. 3 months ago, she had been terrified of anyone knowing who she was. Now she was being asked to help others follow a similar path. Her phone buzzed with a text from Maria. Drinks tonight? I want to hear about your day. Sarah smiled and typed back, Angelo's at 8. I'll tell you about an interesting phone call. As she walked toward the terminal, Sarah thought about the young girl from a Seattle flight who had said she wanted to be a pilot. She wondered if that girl was still dreaming of flying. Sarah pulled out her phone and recorded a video message. Hi everyone, this is Captain Sarah Chen, also known as Ghost Rider. If you're watching this and you dream of becoming a pilot, or accomplishing anything difficult, I want you to know something important. Your background doesn't determine your future. Your current circumstances don't define your potential. What matters is your determination, your willingness to work hard, and your refusal to let anyone tell you what you can't do. She paused, choosing her words carefully. I spent over a year hiding who I was because I thought my past defined me. I was wrong. Our pasts inform us, teach us, shape us, but they don't limit us. We can honor where we've been while building something new. We can be multiple things at once. She smiled at the camera. So dream big. Work hard. Stay focused. And when your moment comes, when life demands everything you have, be ready to show the world who you really are. That's what Ghost Rider means to me. Not hiding. Not seeking glory. Just being prepared to use every skill you have to make a difference when it matters most. She ended the recording and posted it to her social media account. Within minutes, comments appeared. You inspire me every day, Captain Chen. My daughter watches your videos every night. Thank you for showing her what's possible. Thank you for your service, both military and civilian. Sarah closed her phone and walked into the terminal, ready to go home, ready for whatever came next. She was Captain Sarah Chen. She was Ghost Rider. She was a teacher, a mentor, a role model. She was exactly who she was meant to be. And somewhere out there, a young girl was watching planes fly overhead, dreaming of the day when she would take to the skies. Maybe that girl would remember this story. Maybe she would remember that legends can look like anyone. Maybe she would remember that the sky has no limits for those brave enough to reach for it. Ghost Rider had saved Flight 2847 that day 3 months ago. But the real miracle wasn't the emergency landing. The real miracle was what came after, the lives inspired, the barriers broken, the future aviators who now believed they could fly. Because in the end, that's what legends do. They don't just accomplish extraordinary things. They show others that extraordinary things are possible. And the legend of Ghost Rider was just beginning. Sarah walked into the Horizon Airlines training facility on a bright Monday morning. She was now working as a check airman, evaluating and training other pilots. Her office had a view of the runways, and she could watch aircraft take off and land throughout the day. Today she had a special assignment. A new pilot named Jennifer Martinez was scheduled for her captain upgrade evaluation. Jennifer was 29 years old, a former Navy helicopter pilot who had transitioned to commercial aviation 2 years ago. "Captain Chen, thank you for meeting with me," Jennifer said when she entered Sarah's office. She looked nervous, clutching her flight manual tightly. "Please, call me Sarah." "Have a seat, Jennifer." Sarah gestured to the chair across from her desk. "I've reviewed your file. Very impressive background. Navy search and rescue, correct?" "Yes, ma'am. I flew SH-60 Seahawks for 6 years. Completed over 200 rescue missions. And yet you look nervous right now. Why is that?" Jennifer hesitated. "Honestly? Because you're Ghost Rider. Everyone knows what you did on Flight 2847. I'm afraid I won't measure up to your standards." Sarah leaned forward. "Jennifer, let me tell you something I wish someone had told me earlier. You don't need to be Ghost Rider. You don't need to be me. You need to be the best version of Jennifer Martinez. You have skills and experience that I don't have. You've saved lives in ways I never could. Search and rescue requires courage and precision that's different from combat flying, but equally important." Jennifer's shoulders relaxed slightly. "Thank you. That actually helps a lot." "Good. Now let's talk about your evaluation. I'm not here to trip you up or catch you making mistakes. I'm here to see how you handle challenges and to help you become the best captain you can be." "Understood?" "Understood, Captain, Sarah." They spent the next 4 hours in the flight simulator. Sarah put Jennifer through various scenarios: engine failures, weather emergencies, system malfunctions. Jennifer handled each one competently, showing good decision-making and clear communication with her crew. After the evaluation, Sarah sat with Jennifer in the debriefing room. "You passed, Jennifer. Congratulations. As of today, you're cleared for captain upgrade." Jennifer's face lit up with joy. "Really? Thank you so much. You earned it. But I want to tell you something else. As a woman in this industry, you're going to face challenges I still face. People will doubt you because of your age or gender. They'll make assumptions about your abilities before you even start flying. Don't let that get to you. Let your skills speak for themselves. How do you handle it?" "The doubt, Sarah thought for a moment. "I prove them wrong every single flight. I fly with excellence, I treat my crew with respect, and I make safety my top priority. Eventually, people stop focusing on what I look like and start focusing on what I can do. You'll do the same." Jennifer stood to leave, then turned back. "Can I ask you something personal? Do you regret revealing who you really are?" I mean, you had this quiet life, and now everyone knows about Ghost Rider. I thought I would regret it, Sarah admitted. For the first few weeks, I missed the anonymity. But now? No, I don't regret it. Because now I can help pilots like you. I can inspire young people who dream of flying. I can use my experience to make aviation safer and better. That's worth more than hiding. The following week, Sarah received an unusual request. A local high school wanted her to speak to their students about aviation careers. Sarah had been avoiding media appearances and public speaking, but something about this request resonated with her. The school was in a lower-income neighborhood where many students came from immigrant families. Sarah remembered being one of those students herself, the daughter of Taiwanese immigrants who had worked multiple jobs to support their family. When Sarah walked into the school auditorium, she was surprised to see over 300 students packed into the space. A banner hung over the stage, "Welcome Captain Sarah Chen, Ghost Rider." The principal, a warm woman named Mrs. Rodriguez, greeted her. "Captain Chen, thank you so much for coming. Our students have been excited about this all week. Many of them have never met a pilot before, let alone someone with your background." Sarah took the stage and looked out at the sea of young faces. Some looked interested, some skeptical, some bored. She decided to be completely honest with them. "My name is Sarah Chen, and 6 months ago, I was just another commercial pilot that nobody knew or cared about. I liked it that way. I had spent years hiding who I really was because I wanted a normal life." She paused, letting that sink in. "But then something happened that forced me to stop hiding. An emergency situation where I had to use skills that revealed my military background. And suddenly, everyone knew about Ghost Rider." A hand shot up. A young girl, maybe 14 years old, with determined eyes. "Yes." Sarah pointed to her. "Why did you hide? If you were that good, why didn't you want people to know?" Sarah smiled. "That's a great question. I hid because I was tired. Tired of the pressure, tired of always having to be exceptional, tired of the danger. I just wanted to be normal for a while. But here's what I learned: you can't hide who you fundamentally are. Your skills, your talents, your experiences, they're part of you. And when the moment comes that demands those things, you have to be ready to use them." Another hand went up. A boy in the back. "How did you become a fighter pilot? Isn't that really hard?" "It's one of the hardest things I've ever done. It required years of study, physical training, mental preparation. I had to be better than most of the male pilots competing for the same positions. But I wanted it badly enough to put in the work." "Did people discriminate against you because you're a woman?" asked another girl. "Yes," Sarah answered honestly. "All the time, even now. On the flight where I revealed who I was, passengers made comments about me being too young and too female to be trusted in a cockpit. Some people will always doubt you based on how you look. But you know what? Their doubt is their problem, not yours. Your job is to be so good that they have no choice but to respect you." For the next hour, Sarah answered questions. She talked about the training, the challenges, the fear, the triumph. She talked about Flight 2847 in detail, the turbulence, Captain Morrison's injury, the decision to stop hiding. But most importantly, she talked about believing in yourself when others don't. How many of you have been told you can't do something because of where you come from, or how you look, or your family's economic situation? Sarah asked. Almost every hand in the auditorium went up. "I see. Well, let me tell you what I believe. I believe that talent exists everywhere, but opportunity doesn't. Some of you in this room right now have the potential to be incredible pilots, engineers, doctors, scientists, leaders. But you might not get the same opportunities as kids in wealthier neighborhoods. That's not fair, but it's reality." She paused, looking across the audience. "So what do you do about it?" "You work twice as hard. You find mentors who believe in you. You apply for every scholarship, every program, every opportunity. You never, ever give up. Because the world needs your talents. The world needs pilots who look like you, who come from where you come from, who understand what you've experienced. When Sarah finished speaking, the students gave her a standing ovation. Afterward, dozens of them lined up to talk to her, to take pictures, to ask for advice. One girl, a 16-year-old named Maya, waited until almost everyone else had left. "Captain Chen, can I talk to you for a minute?" "Of course." Maya looked down at her feet, then back up at Sarah. "I want to be a pilot. I've wanted it since I was little. But my parents say it's too expensive, too difficult. They want me to do something more practical." "How did you convince your parents?" Sarah thought back to her own teenage years, having similar conversations with her own parents. "I didn't convince them with words. I convinced them with actions. I studied hard, got good grades, researched scholarship programs. I showed them I was serious, not just dreaming. And eventually, they saw how much it meant to me and they supported me. But what if they still say no? Then you keep working toward your goal anyway. You're 16, right? In 2 years, you'll be 18. You can make your own decisions. Use these next 2 years to prepare, study math and science, learn everything you can about aviation, save money if you can. Don't waste time arguing. Use time preparing." Maya's eyes brightened. "That's actually really good advice. Thank you, Captain Chen. Call me Sarah. And Maya? When you become a pilot, remember this conversation. Remember that someone believed in you. And when you meet a young person who dreams of flying, you believe in them too. That's how we change things." 2 weeks later, Sarah received a message that made her smile. Captain Morrison was organizing a reunion for everyone from Flight 2847, passengers, crew, emergency responders. He wanted to bring everyone together 6 months after the incident. The event was held at a hotel near Colorado Springs Airport. Sarah arrived early, feeling nervous for the first time in weeks. She hadn't seen most of these people since that day. Morrison greeted her at the door. He looked healthy and strong, completely recovered from his injuries. "Sarah. So glad you could make it." He hugged her warmly. "Come on, there are a lot of people who want to see you." Inside, the room was filled with familiar faces. Maria was there with the other flight attendants. Passengers Sarah recognized from the flight. Emergency responders who had met the aircraft that day. And in the corner, she saw the businessman from seat 12A, the one who had made disparaging comments about her before takeoff. He saw her at the same time and immediately walked over. "Captain Chen, I'm Robert Martinez. I don't know if you remember me, but I need to apologize to you. Before the flight, I made terrible comments about you being too young and too female to be trusted as a pilot. I was ignorant and prejudiced. You saved my life that day, and you taught me that my assumptions about people are often completely wrong. I'm sorry." Sarah extended her hand. "Mr. Martinez, I appreciate your apology. And I'm glad you learned something from the experience. That's what matters. I did learn something. And I've been working to address my own biases ever since. Thank you for giving me the chance to apologize in person." Throughout the evening, passengers shared their stories. How the experience had changed them. How they had faced their own fears afterward. How they had become more grateful for every day. One woman stood up to speak. "I want to say something to Captain Chen. Before that flight, I was living my life on autopilot, no pun intended. I was in a job I hated, a relationship that wasn't working, just going through the motions. When we hit that turbulence and I thought I was going to die, I realized I had been wasting my life. After we landed safely, I made changes. I quit that job and started my own business. I ended that relationship. I started actually living. So thank you, Captain Chen, not just for saving my life, but for reminding me that life is precious and shouldn't be wasted." Others shared similar stories. The experience had become a turning point for many of them. When it was Sarah's turn to speak, she stood before the group feeling emotional. "6 months ago, I thought my life was over when my secret was revealed. I had worked so hard to hide who I was, to be normal, to avoid attention. But Captain Morrison's last words before he lost consciousness, 'Ghost Rider, save them,' those words changed everything. They gave me permission to stop hiding." She looked around the room at all the faces.